Wired Unplugged.
Live. Oh, that was me. That was me because that came from a YouTube video, which is a perfect opportunity to say, hello, everybody. This is the live version of the podcast that we have on YouTube and also other podcast services. Thanks very much for coming. I know what you're thinking. Hey, this isn't a diversity panel. No, it's not. This is Wired Unplugged Live, where we're going to try and educate you a little bit about, well, all manner of things, really. There's a lot of video games that you can play at PAX, and most of the really good ones, have got publishers behind them. Everyone knows what a developer is. What's a publisher? Well, we'll learn a little bit about that relationship between a developer and a publisher, and we'll learn lots of nice things along the way. We're one of the two panels of the day. Is that about 6 inches? Yeah. I've been a bit too generous. So we're one of the two panels of the day that's 13 plus, so we're allowed to say fuck, but we're going to try our best to not do it lots. I'd like to introduce you to our coveted panelists here. My name is Jake Kulkowski, and I host the Wired Unplugged podcast with my valiant co-host, Aaron Cooper. So,
hello. Yay! Yay!
Whoa.
Let's get some hellos. Woo! Back to you, Drake.
Well, actually, let's not. Let's go all the way through. So, Ash, would you like to introduce yourself in your normal voice?
Yes, my normal voice, I promise. I'm Ash Paulsen, the creator and co-founder of Good Vibes Gaming on YouTube and Patreon. And I'm here to talk. I love indie games, and I'm here to talk about indie games. So thank you guys for having me.
Brilliant.
Woo!
Thank you.
I'll wait for the applause. Drake, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Andreas, or Dre. Who I run an indie studio called Nosebleed Interactive, and we are working with Wired Productions on Arcade Paradise, which is currently playable downstairs.
Huh?
Nice.
Damn,
No
Drake.
applause, none.
That's it.
I had to ask for them. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, guys. And finally,
And hi, I'm Leo Zullo. I'm the MD of Wired Productions. We're a small indie publisher from England.
actually, so for the millions and millions tuning in on YouTube, don't worry about it. But for everyone here, sorry about the accents. You've got Ash, so just try and make do with that.
Sure. I'll do my best.
Yeah, thank you, Sonic.
A local voice.
Very good. So actually, it's exciting to be at PAX because PAX is kind of part of the Wired story as a whole, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But I think actually it would be nice to talk a little bit about this kind of, I don't know, this family vibe that you get between a publisher and a developer. Like I say, most people know what a developer is, but if you don't, this is why we brought you here, Dre. You're in a hot seat, mate. Sorry. It's a different relationship to go out and put your game out there with absolutely no help. And there's lots of indie developers who are downstairs hustling hard. But you can also get a publisher to do a lot of the hard work. Good for you. Would you like to just let everybody know how it is that you kind of met Wired and how that sort of pitch went, or what the story is there? There's got to be an origin story, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a few different ones. So I'll tell you, the very first meeting was it was an event not dissimilar to this. I think it was EGX maybe, or maybe Gamescom.
I think it was Gamescom.
Yeah, possibly Gamescom. And I was pitching a game basically, and I showed it to them, and they were super interested, and we talked loads, and then I didn't use them as the publisher.
Yeah. I think you
I went with a different one.
We actually agreed terms.
Yeah.
We got to the point. We agreed terms, man. It was good.
But
I forgave him.
So yeah, we went with another publisher, which was a terrible idea.
It was a bad
because then so this is a game called Vostok Inc., which released in 2017, and we did like the PlayStation version, the Vita version, the Xbox version.
What's a Vita?
PlayStation Vita.
Oh,
come
right,
on, Vita
yeah.
Island. Come on.
Yeah, I was just joking.
Long live the Vita.
The PS
And
Vita
we
deserved
really wanted
better.
to do a Nintendo Switch version, and our publisher didn't want to. And I was like, "Hey guys, we said, oh, but we're not sure. Do you want to do the Switch version?" And that's kind of the real start of the
That was
relationship,
the real start,
isn't it?
Yeah, we kissed and made up.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
signed the Switch version and subsequently picked up the rest of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a good start.
And then since then, obviously, we know each other well. and you guys know the sort of stupid, crazy ideas that I have.
Yeah.
And like them.
And like
so you
them.
guys signed Arcade Paradise. So that's a whole different story.
That's a
now.
whole
I think that's another. You can ask us about that later on.
Yeah, it's a nice little chapter break there. So actually, this, you know, for people who are listening who actually just don't really know what that means, signed and picked up. Leo, it's probably a really good opportunity to like explain a little bit on a base level, what is it that Wired and probably broadly speaking, publishers in general actually do for developers? What's a, you know, why would people use a publisher rather than just make a game and then just cry at Twitch streamers to play it for like 12 hours a day?
Okay. Well, there's different types of publishers. Obviously, you've got AAA publishers and you've got indie publishers like us. Really, it's our job to make the game a success. So we support the developer, whether it be through production, whether it be through localization, voiceover, whether we have to add some music, whether we just need to put an arm over their shoulder, whether we have to pay for development, because obviously people need time to do a good job, and to have time, you need to give them money. So the better jobs are done when there's no pressure financially. So really, it's our job to have a look at what's needed. So we look at Dre and see sort of where we see some gaps or where we see some support that's needed, and we provide whatever's needed. Now, going back to the whole sort of part about the tiff about sort of not signing it first time round, but the fact that we actually did get on, and that's kind of the important part here, because we got on first time round, and we kind of got on second time round. So the point is, the relationship part is also massively important. So the relationship between publisher and developer is kind of fundamental, because you're kind of in bed together for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and you have to get on. So it's really important, and that's kind of alluding also a little bit to the family vibe side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was like, oh, a family, they argue. Have you got any juicy stories? But we'll save it.
And we did.
And it's really interesting because it kind of like developers, you just mentioned that Vostok Inc. and things like that. You know, you can pick and choose people. There's publishers that just pick up titles on a certain console and things like that, really. And I guess the relationship dynamic is really important to have that trust, because I suppose, is it right to assume, I'm acting like I don't know, but I do really, don't I? That sometimes as a developer, you've got a crazy idea, but then you've kind of got to go to the publisher and say, can we fund this exciting new idea that will...
Yeah, basically, you need to pay developers, you need to pay programmers, artists, designers, the whole shebang, and you know, it can be difficult. So obviously, getting funding from a publisher is one of the things that, you know, is very, very useful for a developer. But to be honest, you need to really pick which publisher is right for you. If they kind of understand your game and they get on board with it and are really passionate about your idea, then they're going to help make that a success. If they just are like, yeah, that's fine, you know, here's another one for the portfolio, that just probably won't work at all, and you're going to be left doing the legwork of actually marking it yourself. You know, obviously I'm here at PAX, you know, talking about the game, being passionate and all that sort of stuff, but so are the Wired guys, and if I'm like, oh, I need a quick break, I can see them go in and do exactly the same thing, talk about it in the same way with the same amount of passion. I think that's a really important sort of thing when you're looking for a publisher, for them to understand your idea and understand like the deep sort of part of it that, you know, that makes it the game that you're making.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I suppose that comes to like giving a shit, really. Basically, that's the kind of the ethos that you need to have. So it's a great opportunity to go to this neglected side of the table. Sorry, boys.
Hi, Jake.
Hey, all good.
It's good
all
to be here.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, great time.
Yeah. You were on timeout because of those bad impressions, actually. Ash, I wanted to speak to you because for those that don't know, Ash makes amazing content on this platform called YouTube, and I wanted to know what your relationship's like with publishers. How do you find it as a content creator? And you know, there's a lot of people who approach you and say, can you cover a game, or when you're looking out for things, and maybe there's a publisher that you really like to talk about, but they you know, miserable and they're in Japan.
Talk about Mega Man now, mate.
Yeah.
Set him off.
Yeah. Mega Man panel, everybody. We often find that indie game publishers and developers will approach us because they're just desperate to get eyes in front of their game. And, you know, unfortunately, indie games don't always get the play they should. And even on our own channel, it's kind of a pattern where a video about a specific indie game will get significantly less views than a game about, or than a video about Kirby and the Forgotten Land or Elden Ring or whatever. And for me, it's not about the number of views though. I just want to cover indie games because indie games are awesome and I want people to know about them. But yeah, we often have indie game publishers approach us and they'll be like, hey, would you please cover this? And unfortunately, there are too many for us to ever possibly do it because there are just so many games out there. And we're only a team of 6, and 2 of us have day jobs. So it's that we can't cover everything that comes across our plate. But usually I find that indie devs are just the most gracious, humble, appreciative people because they just are doing this for the love of the craft. And they really just want people to experience their cool new game. And so we do our best. We do our best. And I can't think of any indie game publishers out there who have been difficult to work with, honestly. Actually, I'd like to say the opposite and call out Yacht Club Games as wonderful people. Those people over there are awesome. Shovel Knight is one of my favorite games of all time. And I live like 30 minutes from their HQ. I've been there several times. I'm friends with the dev team. They've always been nothing but wonderful to us. Also, Inti Creates. Inti Creates are awesome. Really cool people. And yeah, but I'm happy to say I've never had an indie dev that I've had a difficult time with.
And with indie publishers, do you find that there's like a curatorial aspect that you respect? Do you know what I mean? Like kind of like, I'm a film snob, movies, America. I'm a movie snob, and if A24 put out a horror movie, I'm like, it's gonna bang, it's good. So do you have that kind of respect for publishers in that way, where maybe they'll be a little bit closer to your responses and stuff like that? You think that it's something you keep an eye on, like if Yacht Club puts something out again, you're going to be like, oh, so for a company like Wired, caring a lot and having a relationship with a content creator, would you agree that that's important? Please say yes, because I need to segue to Aaron and make it really good.
Oh no, I mean, look, absolutely. Sometimes it can be like just banging your head against the wall trying to get, the big 3 to play. Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox. PlayStation does a lot for us, and that's not to say that Nintendo and Xbox don't, but it can be very difficult to get through to a specific person there who cares about you.
I'd like to hear more about that in a minute.
No, please.
Yeah, no, actually, that's good. We'll talk about that in a little moment because I want to kind of discuss that hierarchy system. And there's a difference between working with like a Wired versus a Nintendo, right? But with full respect to Nintendo. So let's go back to that in just a few minutes, because Aaron is the poor soul who often is the person writing emails to content creators saying, oh, please play our game. And
please.
Yeah, no, not now, not now. And how does that feel to have like a relationship with the publisher that you're working with, like getting an opportunity to, look at the games before launch? What's that like? Because there might be people watching who don't really understand what it's like when you are trying to send a game out. How much time have you had? Let's talk about, for example, Martha is Dead recently, which launched, when's that, February? And how long did you have to get into that? How much opportunity did Wired give you to?
I mean, to be honest, I'm going to start this by saying that I have missed PAX. Have we all missed PAX?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
What is
So
this?
happy
What
to
are you
be
doing?
back.
PAX is back, baby. Woo! Yeah!
Nice.
I like you. I like you all. I think PAX has been really useful because, we get to come across the ocean and meet people that we never would, right? So the first PAX that I ever came to with Wired is when we adopted Ash.
Yes.
We feed him and water him,
Yep.
keep him happy. But anyway.
Definitely make
Please
me
continue.
happy. Absolutely.
It's true love. But I think shows like PAX are very important, especially on the content creator side, because you get to spend time with those people. And it's not that, I'm going to use a swear word, it's not that bullshit of play my game, good luck, have fun. But, you have to find, similar to what Dre said earlier about finding the right partners that are right for the game, that the family fits, that there are commonalities between the people and their audiences as well. Similar to you, Ash, in that having that time to actually get to know someone, find out what makes them tick, what they are looking for, what their audiences are looking for, that is absolutely essential. I'm not, genuinely, living that blanket email life, I've never had that. I will spend hours and hours and hours, days, weeks, building relationships with people. And, you know, all the communication is one-on-one because it's very essential that someone doesn't feel... Essentially, do you get junk mail in the US?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. We do back home as well. Those blanket emails are akin to putting a leaflet through someone's door for new window glazing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's going straight in the bin. Like, if no effort has been put into
the trash
say,
here, mate.
Yeah.
It's the trash.
if it said, yeah, exactly,
Garbage.
exactly right. But if I'm not selling window glazing, do you know what I mean? It's like I need to know that people and their audiences can merge and gel with the game. And you mentioned Martha is Dead as well.
Right.
So much work was put into that campaign because the game itself is it's heavy and sensitive in nature. So when we were working with content creators and press, at every step of the way, at shows, be it through emails and communications onwards, it was being very upfront that please make sure that this game is right for you. I can't tell you too much about it because I don't want to spoil the game because the experience is it's a soul-searching, heartfelt thing to actually experience and go through. But also, if you like this type of game, you have to remember that because of these things that are in there, they may be triggers for people watching in your audience. So we spent a lot of time making sure that that message got through to every single individual person in the right way. And I don't know if that answers any of your questions, Jake, but I'm just happy
It'll
to
do,
talk.
mate. No, that's really good, man. Thank you very much. So I guess that'll do, yeah. That was good, Thanks, man. Yeah.
Take that one.
So that kind of goes to show publishing and developing and the whole picture, I guess, from start to finish. So that's it. No, but essentially, there's a lot to it, and I guess the kind of key thing here is it doesn't matter whether it's the developer picking a publisher choosing what the runtime is of these, you know, monetary campaigns, which products to launch, if it's going to be a physical SKU and things like that, the relationships with content creation, how the campaigns are being approached. There's a lot you need to factor when you're a publisher, and it's something that you can't really do unless you've got really good communication. So if you're a huge corporate entity like Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft, shouts out to those guys, then it's a little bit more difficult because there's a lot of people with Wired, because it's a smaller company. It's more of an opportunity to have that discussion, I suppose. So I wanted to talk a little bit about PAX, actually. We probably should, shouldn't we, to be honest? It plays a pretty pivotal role, I think, into some of the evolution of Wired's ideas. Leo, have you got a favourite PAX story you'd like to share?
Blimey. I don't know. I think we've been here 4 times. I think this is our 5th time. And being an indie publisher, just bootstrapping it, this is the first time we've got something that actually looks nice. Normally we go to IKEA and we rock up with 2 cars and we are literally creating our stand from scratch on the fly, building it for 2 days and then running the show, and then on the Sunday we're hustling to sell the stuff. So yeah, that's kind of sums us up really. The fact that, you know, but this year, the fact that we've grown this year, we sent a box from England. We didn't have to make it ourselves. So I don't think there's really it's just maybe just the evolution of our experience here, from starting off right at the back with just a desk and 2 PCs to now having 100 square meters and sort of 24, 26 machines or whatever we've got. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey over 7 years, counting the 2 that we've not been here. So, but yeah, this is our favourite show. The people, the feedback, the fact that it's probably the most engaged audience from all the shows around the world, and people actually give real feedback and really enjoy it. So it's actually a pleasure to be here. So,
Yeah.
and the attitude in gamers, you ask someone walking by, say, "Hey, do you want to play this game?" And they're like, "Yeah." You go to England and they, "Do you want to play this game?" And they're like, "Oh shit."
yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you know, it's slightly different.
Yeah, if Aaron tried that audience participation shit in the UK,
one clap like this,
Yeah.
just a...
he'd be sent to France. yeah, basically.
You enjoying EGX?
So Ash, it's a good opportunity then to talk about like the communication with, like, for example, one of the big guns from your perspective as a content creator. How is it to develop relationships with that? How easy is it? Or would you like to share the struggle? It's not that you need to besmirch them, and if there's any Nintendo lawyers present, it's all jokes.
I mean, well, clearly Nintendo are watching everything that we do. They love. No, I mean, they definitely know who we are, but the straight truth is, it's a shift in the power dynamic. Like with the smallest indie devs, we know that they count on us to showcase their games, and that they need us to do that. And we're more than happy to oblige as much as we can for the love of the craft, and because we want to lift up smaller devs. With Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox, the power dynamic is totally shifted. They know that we need them way more than they need us. We're not IGN. We're not GameSpot. We're closing in 100,000 subs, but there are plenty of channels who have way more subs than we do. And so, frankly, they can take their time getting back to us when they want to. And that's often what ends up happening. We definitely have contacts there. We have ends, but it's about, I guess, is that repetition. And kind of there's an element of luck to it. Hopefully you get to the right person who cares about what you're doing, likes your channel, but it's a lot less individualized. I have to say, it's like we are reached out to as part of a larger wave of people who are being reached out to, but it's not often the case that we have specific people who know and love exactly what Good Vibes Gaming is and what we're doing and reach out to us because of that. At least not on the major publisher side, but indie devs, that does sometimes happen.
I think it's interesting to hear the dynamic, especially for people who don't really know, how to handle reaching out to publishers or publishers getting back to them. But it happens a lot, and so I just wanted to kind of make the. I think what it is for quite a lot of people, they assume that like there's an indie developer, and then the publishers like the big leagues, like publishers like huge money. Like I don't think not many people are aware that there's
dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. That's what do you know what I mean? So it's like some sort of, it's just some sort of big thing. But really, there's a humble beginning to Wired. So, Leo, it's quite I want to say a poetic story. Would you like to just talk a little bit about the sort of founding aspect of Wired? Because the family dynamic, which we put in the title of this, so you kind of have to mention it a few times to really get the. I don't want to say the money's worth because PAX begs us to do this. There's a kind of, it does feel like a really nice little, not an underdog story, but it's a good family thing. So do you want to give the Wired origin story for people who maybe don't know, and then they'll be really excited to go downstairs and play the games and be like, I don't know these guys.
Okay. All right. I mean, I've been in the industry for 26 years. I know I look young, but 26 years. And I started off as a cocky product manager, marketing manager, thought I knew it all, and had number ones and all that sort of shit with games. And then I thought, I can do this myself. I don't need to work for someone else. So I set up a company, and we Digital Jesters in 2003. And in 2 years, it kind of sort of peaked, and then it kind of crashed because I knew fuck all about business. And then I got involved with dodgy investors, and dodgy investors are dodgy. They kind of promise money and they don't.
Right? The shock.
Yeah, and they kind of just basically stole money for a couple of years, and then I just said, enough. It was like, fuck this. My soul and my integrity is more important than money that was being owed. So I sacked it off.
That deserves an applause, right?
What are we clapping for? Integrity. Let's hear it for integrity. Okay.
That and Music 2000.
Oh yeah. There's a music backstory, but maybe not for this one. But before I was the pantomime villain for about 3 or 4 years, man. If I went to a show like this, no fucker would talk to me. So because of the going up and then going down, because obviously everyone thought I was the devil when it came to business. But and then I basically said to some people who were still there, I'm fucking off to a beach in Thailand. If anyone wants to see me, come and see me, or send an email, or send a parrot, or do something, and I'll be back in a few months. And but I did say on my way out to 3 close guys, I said at some point we'll set up a new business, and I'll give you a call, and I don't know when, probably in 6 months after I come back from Thailand, and we'll do something. So as I sent off an email to a whole bunch of people who were still talking to me, one of them got back to us, and the guy was called Pelle Lundberg, who, if anyone knows anything about the industry, he was one of the co-founders of what is now Embracer, and said, I've got an idea. So He contacted us, we met, and we signed a contract to make a whole bunch of games. And that was the beginning of Wired. So for 6 months, we didn't get paid. 4 of us working in my front kitchen. It was interesting. So I guess the origin story is we bootstrapped from nothing, but it was the mentality. But because of all the things that had gone wrong, the attitude with Wired was we pay our bills, we take no debt, we do the right thing, we work fucking 3, 4, 5 times harder than anyone else, and we make a success of everything that we work for with the people that we work with. So it kind of, the DNA of the company was that kind of hard effort from day one. So, but yeah, we helped Nordic Game do pretty well, and then we decided it's time to segue off and become a publisher under our own colours. And basically, we didn't have a pot to piss in, but we did have enough to buy one game or sign one game, and then that one game become a second game, and then that second game become a third game. And our attitude was, unless we could afford it, we don't sign debt, we don't pick up debt. So we would earn it and then turn it. I like to say earn it and turn it, but it's kind of common Watford sort of thing. But basically the point is we didn't incur any debt, and to do the job properly, you know, we sort of picked up quite some good games really, and you're part of that journey. I've gone off track, man, sorry. But the point is, man, it was a tough start, and for about fucking 8 years of the 14 years of Wired, it's been fucking hard. And now we've sort of been publishing, and we've been, the point was, to be a publisher, all bullshit aside, to be a publisher, you need to be able to do a good job. If this guy signs with me, he's putting his game in my responsibility. I have to make his game a success, and I have to earn him money, right? Otherwise, what the fuck's the point of him signing with us? Do you know what I mean? So that's the point. So whatever it takes, I've got to make Dre some money. And then he's a happy man, and then he'll come back for the next game. So that's kind of the point, you know what I mean? So being a publisher is you know, doing the right thing and being able to help the people that you work with monetize and develop and succeed. And most of the people that we've worked with, I think we're working on their second games now, so hopefully that's a testament of, you know, that we're doing something right. But
I was going to say, just to add to that, I think it's more than just about funding. It is about the relationship as much as anything else. Like, you know, after having finally signed Vostok over to you guys, do you know what? I'm gonna just straight away take off your thing, your question that you might ask, and talk about how Arcade Paradise ended up.
I'm just
signed.
happy to be here, mate. Go on. Yeah, go on.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically I was at a show, and we'd finished Vostok Inc. We were looking to do the next game, and I pitched to Leo, sort of on ad hoc. I was like, hey Leo, check this out. I've got a racing game. So like this cool racing game. It's got like a bunch of stuff, and it's got a whole bunch of like arcade games that you can play in it. And they just published Grip.
that's right.
And they were like, can't really do another racing game straight away. Why don't you just do that? And I was like, well, what? Do you want to sign that? He was like, yeah, sure. And that's pretty much how the game started.
That was the most
like
informal pitch going.
Yeah, it was like it was probably the easiest pitch I've ever done. Because this racing game, you know, we were working on it for a while, and it was a bit like, oh, this is quite an uphill battle. I accidentally pitched it Arcade Paradise.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was just a case of like, you know, he was like, yeah, we want to work with you guys again, and I was like, well, good, because I'd love to work with you guys again. Aww. Family.
I mean, that's the importance of relationships. So you can have a conversation, and then just something stems from it, which is the important thing. So, you know, we wouldn't get that with a lot of publishers. And saying that, there are a hell of a lot of publishers out there now, all sort of vying for developers to sign to them. But I think the key thing is that they have to, it's kind of a marriage, right? Every publisher has a certain style and DNA, and every developer has a certain style and DNA, and they have to match. And you know, you shouldn't, if there are any developers in there, don't sign with a publisher just for the sake of it. Don't sign with a publisher because you need it or a month. Just take your time and find a partner that actually is right for you, I guess.
I think that's a really nice story about Arcade Paradise, which is playable on the show floor at PAX downstairs. Well, as far as we're here on stage and people are listening to us in the room, what do you want to just talk about Arcade Paradise a little bit?
Right, am I right? Okay, shall I do the high level pitch?
quickly, because other people that do this have to pay.
Yeah,
Come on.
well.
And then we'll move on.
So this sounds like I've practiced it before. What is Arcade Paradise, you ask?
Why is it
Well,
Drake?
Arcade Paradise is an arcade management simulator where everything is fully playable and the games are built by us from the ground up for a modern audience.
Can you tie it back to family so we don't get in trouble? Is there anything?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, do you know what? Here's so the player's dad is Gerald Goldman. He's in the Riviera. He's played by Doug Cockle, who played Geralt in the Witcher series of games. And these guys had already worked with him on Victor Vran. So in the sort of, in the early talks about the game, I was like, it'd be dead funny to have Geralt as the player's dad. Do you reckon we could do it? Kind of half joking. And Leo was like, yeah, sure, we'll reach out to him. And he was typing me up for it. So the part was genuinely written for him, kind of half as a joke. And it was just like, yeah, sweet. So awesome recording session as well. He was recorded a bunch of voiceovers in Geralt's voice just for me.
Oh,
my
legend.
ringtone is bring, Dre, answer your damn megascope.
That's really nice.
He's a legend, old Doug.
The first episode of Wired Unplugged, which is this podcast, but quite a lot more coherent. There's music and post-production. It's normally planned. It has Doug Cockle as the first guest, actually. So that was very nice. He had COVID, though, when I spoke to him, so he sounded even huskier, which is my pathetic attempt at a segue to talk about the pandemic. Because a lot of people didn't get to see their families. Oh, that's really bad. A lot of people didn't get to see their families during the pandemic because of the lockdown and things like that. And what people listening might not know, but they probably do, to be honest, is that game development the games industry was just in total shambles. So many studios, big studios, indie developers, huge developers had to move and work at home or try and find things, and it meant that relationships had to change with everything, apart from for content creators who got shitloads of time at home, basically, didn't they? So they got to own all that. We'll talk about that in a minute, Ash.
It wasn't great though. I mean, for someone who's kind of something of an extrovert like myself, I was I had more time at home to play video games and stuff, but I like to go out when I like to go out. I was going stir crazy, right?
Yes.
Whereas my wife, she's more of an introvert, and she's like, "This is the best ever. I hope this never. Well, I want the pandemic to end, but I never want to have to leave the house to go to work again."
Am I your wife?
I mean,
You are now.
you are now. Yeah.
This is going
You're gathered
great.
here today to witness the marriage of Jay
Yeah.
and Ash. Yeah. Surprise.
The pandemic has really, affected, everyone around the world, but game development particularly, and the relationships between developers and publishers must be pretty strenuous. So I'd like to hear about that in just a little moment, but I better give some attention to this side of the table. So, Ash, why don't you talk a little bit about this actually then? Because you did have the opportunity to play a lot more games, but how have you found, as a gamer, the games industry at large delaying everything? What's it been like as a content creator who, maybe looking forward to playing the likes of Elden Ring or Kirby or whatever? You found that conversations have shifted? What's the comment section saying? Give me a temp check.
By and large, shockingly enough, I found that people have been fairly respectful about pandemic-related delays. And we all know those capital G gamer trademark type people who they're keyboard warriors and they complain and nothing's ever good enough. And I gotta say, at least pandemic-related, people have been pretty understanding about delays and timelines shifting. And certainly we are. I mean, I have nothing but respect for game developers. It's a tough job. And, as you said, publishers of all sizes have had to shift and really shift on the fly, fly by the seat of their pants and shift to a work from home model, the likes of which we've never seen before. I mean, this whole pandemic thing, not just for video games, it's something that none of us in this room have ever lived through before, something we've never experienced. And so not only is it, how do you deal with life in the midst of all that? But then if you're running a major publisher of any size, how do you keep your production timelines on track? And obviously it's led to a lot of delays. Before every Nintendo Direct, they have that warning text they have to put there lest someone sue them, because this is America. Hey, due to COVID-19, these things may not come out for a while. just chill. That's not the exact wording, but that's basically what they're saying. And yeah, I have to say, like, well, I've already said it. I've seen the general discourse is that people are understanding and sympathetic to COVID-related delays for publishers, big and small.
I think the one thing that happened with well, this didn't happen, did it? PAX and things like that. There was no conventions, so a lot of publishers and developers were putting a lot of effort, time, money, and investment into influencer relations, talking to content creators and asking them to play the game. Aaron, how did you find that during the pandemic, where there was a lot of, pressure? Was there a lot of pressure?
It was no different, Jake.
Hmm?
It was no different.
No, it's just easier.
No, it was fine. We're still communicating with people. Okay. These people are lucky to have their own setups in their own spaces and so on. Mm-hmm. I think the difficulty comes from being able to plan your campaign out, because, as you said, these games are getting delayed. And delay sounds quite an ugly word, but it's actually, it's quite nice, because the time is being given to make something better, to make it right. However, if you are midway through, say, hey, we've done a preview beat, and actually after that happens, it turns out we're actually going to need another year to get this game made. That's the type of difficulties that I ran into. But the actual communication back and forth, more people seem to have more time, which was nice, because talking is good. Yeah. Well, how did you find it, Jake?
Don't ask me, mate. I'm just a moderator. But you've set this up.
How did you find it back then?
You set that up nicely, though, because I want to ask you, Leo. Leo, how was it being a publisher during the pandemic and working with your developers without the opportunity to maybe do tours of the office or meet up in person? Was it as easy as it was for Aaron?
No.
How wish.
It's all making sense now, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's completely opposite. I mean, we launched, I think, 4 games in 2020, but mainly because production wasn't affected that much. But we were supposed to launch 4, maybe 5 in 2021. We ended up launching 1, and it's had a knock-on effect. So everything's coming out in this year and next year. So we probably lost, every single game probably lost 30 to 40% of production time, which obviously means 30-40% extra costs, because it's time is obviously wages, which is cost. So. But I think what it did do, it gave every publisher or every person a chance to think about their game and just really sit back. I think there were some utopian moments with the COVID sort of pandemic, in that everyone realised that we shouldn't just kill ourselves and run around the world and do mad things, and just chill for a little bit and actually make things a little bit better, whether it's quality of life or even games. So the quality bar of all our games actually improved, even though the delay caused extra delays. But in terms of marketing side, absolute disaster. There's 101 digital shows. No one knew which one to go for.
I was hoping Aaron would say that, so thank you, Leo. Yeah.
It was, and everyone's trying to measure metrics between one show and another show, and everyone's trying to sort of see who's going to, who's doing what. Do you know what I mean? It was a disaster. It was a moving target of potluck.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the other thing is you don't have that same interaction at the digital shows. You can't be standing by the booth and sort of speak to people and be like, oh yeah, this is what this game's about, and so on. So it's kind of almost completely blind, which was hard, which was really hard when we sort of first announced the game and stuff. It's a bit like,
I think that's one of the best things about conventions like PAX, is that you're able to go around and look at games that maybe like a Steam page wouldn't have lured you in, but sitting down and having an opportunity, or seeing other people talk about it and things like that, you get that aspect that you didn't really get, did you? So it must have been challenging, which is why I asked it, to be honest. So I don't really want to end this very, very well formatted podcast on a sad story. So I heard the story about Mario Kart that Aaron and asked them to provide us first before we open up to some questions. So if you've got any questions other than why, there's a microphone right there, and you can ask them. If there's anything you'd like to ask an indie game publisher, I don't know what you would ask, but it's up to you.
Or me. Sure.
Ash is going to, you're going to have a lot of questions in a minute when they tell the Mario Kart anecdote. So actually,
right,
over to you.
Well, so what they've all been saying here about Wired being so family focused is absolutely 100% true. And the way that I kind of came to be part of that family is emblematic of that. I don't know if any of you out there have Vin Diesel on speed dial, but if you do, let me know, because he needs to make a Fast and Furious spinoff about Wired. They really are all about family. And so 5-6 years back now, I guess, I had my plans to go to PAX East kind of pulled out from under me. I had my flight. I was ready to go. But the channel I used to work at, Game Explain, just kind of changed plans very, very quickly, and suddenly I didn't have a place to stay. And I was like, it was like 3 days to the show or something. And so I was just, I think I tweeted, maybe, did you reply? Yeah, I tweeted about it. You replied to me.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey, would love to put you up, and maybe, you can help us set up our booth and tear it down. And, I know your work from Game Explain. And at this point, he'd never met me. And he was like, yeah, just come hang out in our Airbnb part. I could have been anybody. I could have been a serial killer. But he was just like, no, man, just come hang out. Love to meet you. And your Game Explain stuff is awesome. And suddenly I'm like, okay, well, I have a place to stay. And 5 years on, this man has become one of my very best friends in the whole world. I would do anything for this guy. So I joined them in their Airbnb, and it was a party house. It was amazing. And so we actually had
before you get into the madness of what you're about to say.
Okay.
The one thing that I don't think I've told you, but I'll explain this a bit more. At the time, just before we had that conversation, I was going through an incredibly tough personal time. And, when you're having those dark times, you can't really sleep, your head's not in the right space. And I would sit on the little spinny chair that I had with my cat, and I would just watch your videos all the way through the night. And all the things that you folks did together, it kept me going. And I really appreciate it. And the fact that we've got to become lovers. Friends.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, but not both. You can't be one without the other.
I realized I was touching your arm.
Oh, no.
I was like, I love you, and I'm glad we're on this journey. It's beautiful.
Yeah, man. No, this has been wonderful, and that extends to the whole crew to just bring me into your family without having even met me. And so, yeah, it was basically that year a party house. And so
what did we do, Ash?
Well, they also invited two lovely people, collectively known as the Nintendo Power Couple, who you may have heard of on YouTube, Felia and Danny. And so that we were all together. And we had a night that we like to collectively dub funsies in our onesies, right?
Yeah.
And so there were four Nintendo-themed onesies that we all we all donned. It was, I think, Mario, Luigi, Yoshi,
Luigi, Donkey Kong, and Yoshi was given to me for my birthday by Danny and Felia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we donned these onesies. And
looking great.
We looked
fantastic.
We looked awesome. Yeah. Not weird at all. We got it. I think this is your idea. And we got into playing Mario Kart 8. And for those of you who have not played Mario Kart, it's Mario Kart, but as we all know, you don't drink and drive. So the whole point is you have to finish a beer before you cross the finish line, and you want to try to be first, but then the question arises, do you try to pound the beer at the beginning and then go for it and try to catch up? Do you just play and then, get off the side of the road at the very end and then pound your beer? What do you do? Do you have a combination? And so it becomes that. And we very quickly
very quickly
quite inebriated.
Got sideways. And because of how fast those Mario Kart races were, I think we were 200cc at the time, so it was like blink of an eye.
Was it 200?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know what we were thinking.
Well, I don't know if you remember the night now.
I know, right? I do remember one specific part. Well, go ahead. You might be talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because it was very fast, those races were fast, we ran out of drinks very, very quickly. So then the four of us, dressed as Mario, Donkey Kong, Luigi, and Yoshi, are roaming the streets in the back end of Boston late at night trying to find beer, and we look absolutely fantastic.
Oh, fantastic.
And that was an experience. And then we're trying to jump into an Uber, and the guy's like, what the hell is going on? It's all cool. We're fine. We're all fine. We're on the level. We just need to find some drink. Okay.
And bless him, he completely played ball. I mean, he thought we were fucking weird, man. But and I can say that because this is a 13+ panel. But no, I mean, you could tell he was like, "What have I gotten myself into?" But he played along, and he's somewhere out there in Boston, assumedly still. That man was a hero that night. He got us to our liquor store, got us more drinks, kept the party going, even though we were in our onesies.
Yeah, and this is right now why I'm really appreciating the banana guy at the back there.
Oh yeah,
Hey, banana guy.
I met him earlier.
Banana guy was asleep then, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's like. So that's
Not that, I'm sure that's no
not
reflection of your story.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that honestly was one of the best nights of my life, and I've gotten to tell it a few times for game or Good Vibes gaming related stories, and it always is a hit. It's one of my best memories of my life.
Oh,
It was amazing.
This is where we go to the black and white flashback.
Yeah.
It's a nice little montage show.
Uh-huh.
The memories that we don't remember
Uh-huh.
because we were drunk. That's the.
But yeah, ever since then, I've kind of every PAX East, I hook up with them. They very kindly put me up in one of their hotel rooms, and I help them. I've worked the convention circuit for like 20 plus years, so I've put up and torn down so many convention booths at this point. I know it's a lot of work, but I know how to get it done. And so yeah, in exchange for that, they very kindly put me up in one of their hotel rooms, and we're just a big happy family.
And you two now have become family.
Yes,
Just to look
exactly.
back to the title of the panel, right?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, keep
Just
hammering
wanted
that
to get
home.
it
That was
on,
good.
okay.
That was a nice story. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice.
Romantic
Okay.
places, but thrilling.
Romantic all over.
Yeah, hopefully that was
Yes.
worth the price of entry. Thanks, guys. So really, it's quite interesting. Bureau Cart isn't part of the sort of official Wired Productions MO, but Wired are doing a lot of interesting things with, I don't know, this podcast. Interesting. And there's nice, the Wired Black Collection boxes and merch and things like that. Leo, would you like to just close out before we open it up to questions or respite with a little bit of an explanation as to why it is that you still feel a need to work with developers on making physical copies of video games? Because it's nothing, I can't really try to think of a way to make this about family. I can't, it's just interesting.
Oh, blimey.
Wait. Let's just put this to. I'm going to do a crowd thing again. Does anyone here like physical games?
There you
Shout,
go.
Are you
shout.
part?
It's audio.
Are you
There you
part
go.
of a family?
Come here, yay!
Do you want to be?
Thank you very
A lot of
much.
hands went up. A lot of hands went up.
Swap places.
No, I'm okay.
That's very good. So yeah, physical
get some
games
lunch.
obviously are in, well, I don't want to say in decline, but certainly digital copies are on the rise. And that's one of my favorite things about Wired is that it must be really nice and a vanity thing for a developer to have like a physical version of your game, to be completely honest.
Oh yeah, I can show it to my mum.
Exactly, yeah, your mum gives a shit. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, Steam code. She's like, yeah. So what's that about, Leo? And then we'll open up to any questions.
I'm a generation where physical, it was all about physical. Digital didn't even exist. So, and to be honest, it's as you said, it's nice to have something tangible. It's nice to give something to somebody. It's nice to just have, a box. So retail has always been part of boxes, have always been part of the mix. Obviously, it's changing landscape now with, retailers not necessarily taking boxes and stuff. So we've shifted to people like Limited Run and our website and whatever. But also just because there's so many publishers and you have to develop your DNA, what makes your makeup. So things like collectors, we love doing collector's editions. We love doing vinyl. We're big into music. Retail boxes. We've got a certain MO that kind of fits our DNA. So, we just do what we enjoy.
That's really nice. Thank you very much, Leo, and everybody else. I think it would be a good opportunity if anyone has any questions that they could ask them now. There is a little microphone at the center.
I do know. Just before we get started, you still come to the front.
Participation.
You still come on, get to the mic. No, but I've just been sent a message from above, and I know we've just had that really nice moment about physical copies. But we're going to give anyone who asks a question a digital key for Lumo,
Nice.
the Master Moat Chronicles on Nintendo Switch.
Yay.
So if anyone does want to ask a question and get a game, bring it on.
Can I go ask a question? Do I count?
go ahead.
Okay, nice. Hi there.
Hello.
Thank you all for sharing.
Hello.
I was curious if there are any red flags during negotiations or contracting that kind of indicate a relationship is going to be more parasitic than symbiotic.
Blimey, yeah.
It's a very good first question.
Yeah,
isn't it?
good question.
Nice light one there, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's important that when you go into negotiation, you kind of know, the terms, you know what you're after, you're realistic. As soon as, whether it's a developer or a publisher starts going off grid and saying things that are not really real, your development budget is this, or you start to lose the trust. So it's important to keep it real. It's important to be prepared. So have all your assets and everything prepared that you're going to show, and also just fight your corner, because, like I say, if you're a developer, find out what the publisher's going to do. Ask them questions. There's no sort of, there shouldn't be any sort of secret wall about what people do. Find out what they're about, and it is a relationship. You're going to be with this publisher for 3 or 5 years, right? And depending on how good it is, it could even be 10 on one product. And you have to get on with them. You have to communicate well with them. So I think personality, and find out who you're talking to, whether they're going to be your point person all the way through. Just ask questions. Develop a relationship. Ask questions. On the flip side, I mean, I'm all about personality, right? So, if we don't connect, it's not going to happen. So, you might have the best game in the world, but if there's no sort of, it doesn't really matter. So, just be yourself, I think, is the best
Don't be
thing.
an asshole.
Yeah.
And if
Don't
the
be a
person
dick,
is an
it's that
asshole, that's a big red flag.
That's the biggest. Yeah, I mean, but that goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, but just it's.
Simple.
But it's true. It's true. It is about relationship, no matter who you're with. So, and just be realistic, and know what you have and what it's worth and what you're asking for. And if you are going into negotiating from point of developer, know the terminology. Know what types of deals there are. Whether it's an advance, a minimum guarantee. And sort of recoups and all these kind of little terms that you may or may not know, but try and do your homework before going in and research the publisher that you're going to talk to.
I was going to say, if as a developer, you need to know who you're talking to. You need to know the types of games they're after.
Yeah.
Don't go pitching NFTs to like someone like Leo.
Stop.
Yeah. No fucking thanks, man.
No fucking thanks. It is. It's about kind of knowing who you're pitching to, and then seeing if you click and being really upfront and honest. I think that's the big one. It's that sort of, you've got to trust each other, and if that isn't there from the start, then you're kind of doomed. So it is about sort of basically building that trust and building that relationship. Yeah, which is, I think, why you work on multiple games. Worked with developers multiple times. Yeah, I think that's the sort of the big indicator.
Yeah, and also just don't sign with a publisher that needs a slot filled. I mean, really find out what they're going to do for your game. They have to believe in your game, man. And if they don't believe it, they don't play it, they don't like it, walk on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right.
Hey, I know you.
Yes, we're clapping to people asking questions.
First
but-
Fair play. Yeah.
Very short. But my question is kind of insignificant now. But I just want to know where the picture is of the four of you wandering around in Boston and one.
I'll find it. Nice.
Oh
Do
man.
that now.
That was the easiest free game code.
You'll definitely get to see it. Don't worry about it. And she's also one of our most amazing community members at Good Vibes Gaming. She does so much for us. Thank you, Becca.
All right, cool.
Hi.
I'm an indie developer myself, and I released my game last year, and I think the best way to put it is that it flopped. Like probably 20 copies sold on Steam in the last 6 months. And I kind of realized when I was reaching out to content creators in general, I had a hard time finding a way to get people to care about my game. Is there any way or any tips that you guys know of that indie developers do that make content creators care about your game?
Okay.
Good question.
I would love to answer that, but we would be here for another 5 hours. But genuinely, straight after this, come here and we'll have a nice chat. Yeah,
For sure.
Can I say one thing about that? I think something that I was told early doors when I first started my company is not just about the game, it's about the story. Your story is like who you are as a developer, where you came to be. Like, what is the background for the game? Not just, it's not just about obviously the gameplay is key, but to get that foot in the door, if your story is interesting, if you're like rags to riches, or, you were building microchips for the Higgs boson collider, which one of our programmers was, which is how we got in with The Guardian in the UK. First newspaper person I spoke to was like, That is a story, isn't it? I came out of his talk where he said, "Have a good story." So that is a, you know, I think that was a really good bit of advice that I got. You know, if you can speak to someone and before you even tell them about the game, you've got them interested, you got them on the hook there.
Oh,
I mean, it's the same with any pitch, really, isn't it? It's kind of, you know, you're pitching to so many people at all times. You know, you're pitching to publishers, you're pitching to members of the public to get them interested in your game, you're pitching to content creators to get, and those pitches are all slightly different and have a slightly different language. But essentially,
It's that, isn't it? But it's, you know, launch isn't always the end either. There's like loads of examples of games that have like had some sort of
Among Us.
Well, I was going to go for Slay the Spire to not be basic, but Among Us is a really good example. Yeah, and Slay the Spire too, where like it just takes one taste-making curator to play your game to you know, breathe new life into it. Among Us must have been really difficult because it was like a whole group of people playing it that, you know, it's not easy to get collaboration streams, and obviously multiplayer is an aspect that not every game has, but something as simple as Slay the Spire wasn't very popular at all. And then some pro StarCraft player, I think, like on their day off, just played that on their stream once, and then it just blew up. So like there's weird opportunities like after launch for there to be some sort of second chance, you know, like the resurrection mechanic in Sekiro.
Would you recommend the developer to keep sending codes on I mean, you're receiving codes. I mean, do you want to keep seeing these codes appear or these emails? Is there a best approach?
I guess the best way is to find like a time and a beat to, you know, maybe you can update your game and add some new features or something like that. So there's an you know, people won't play a game for absolutely no reason like 2 years after. Or if there was like a patch update, it doesn't need to be like really content heavy like Fortnite or things like that. I don't know, Valheim or whatever that came out, was it like last year in early access, and now the updates are very incremental. They added like, I don't know, more furniture or something like that, and it's a great opportunity for people to jump back in, even if it's not like changing the world with the content and stuff like that. So there's
It's like Hades, right?
Yeah.
Initial launch, silent.
Right.
Then a moment happened, and it's. Does everyone here know Hades?
Oh God, it's so good.
There we
It's
go.
so
There we
good.
go.
Fantastic game. Yeah.
So you got to wonder, and you got to ask yourself like if there is a reason why, and like with Hades, it was like an Epic Game Store exclusive that was fairly new at the time, I think, and it was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So there is opportunity to like rekindle it and stuff like that. So yeah, come and talk to me an hour afterwards so we do this. Thank you.
Cool. I think we should
Oh,
try
we're
to.
clapping, remember?
Yes.
Anyone who asks a question gets a clap.
I'm thinking we should try to rapid fire the next.
Okay, yeah, okay,
discussion we can.
quick
We have
fire
5
round.
minutes.
Okay,
So
sure.
let's do it.
5 minutes.
Hey.
It's the PAX voice.
Yeah, so over the pandemic, I played a lot of indie games, and I started developing an appreciation for creative ways of telling either mundane or told stories already, just a new way of kind of imagining it. Is there one thing about indie games that brings you guys back to them over time and time again?
Man, I mean, I just love a good game, regardless of whether it's indie or AAA. But I think I feel like I have more of a personal connection to games I love that are indie because I know how difficult it is to make a video game in even the best of circumstances. Because I produced games before, and it's a hard job. And so when a game really hits, like Shovel Knight, for example, or Celeste, or whatever. I have so much deep respect for the craft that went into it because, again, you could be a multinational company, billions of dollars, and the people in the trenches, it's still really hard work. So to do that with limited funds and 20 people, all my respect goes to people who can do that. And so I guess, I know that's not a direct answer to your question, but it's adjacent, I hope.
Yeah, it kind of ties into what Dre said earlier about having an angle and a story, because I guess indie games do have that inherent story. It's an underdog story, really, in the face of things, Yeah. Stardew Valley and things like that, one-person developing teams, and that's just as exciting. Like Stardew Valley was made by one person. What? I'll check this out. So the stuff like that, maybe that's something to do with it too, right? Just knowing that there's, I don't know, it's so close. It wasn't made by like a boardroom of people who then have other boardroom meetings and things. I don't know.
Right.
All indie games are created in a boardroom, and then you move to another boardroom, but it's just you in that room.
Yeah,
Because we're all so wealthy that we just have like palaces with like boardrooms everywhere. Oh yeah, sorry. I know, yeah. Just bedroom. Sorry, I meant bedroom, not boardroom.
Yeah. Very good. So
Thank you very much.
Hey, Steph.
Hi there. Big fan. So I've got a quick two-parter for you. So the first is I've loved getting to hear about this family values approach that you have to publishing and developing in this whole relationship. But I wanted to know if there are any unique and specific challenges that come with this method and like this way of going about things that is maybe different than other types of approaches, or do you think that the challenges that you face are the same, like regardless, and this is an attitude that where it doesn't create any unique circumstances or challenges to go through? And also, just to keep Ash involved, as a second part to the question is, you talked a lot about just how there are so many games, and so like you can't play all of them. And just so as a content creator after, if there is anything just you appreciate when publishers and developers let you know about a certain thing, or what makes like your decision process a little bit easier, and things you appreciate. I just wanted everyone to feel involved. Those are my two questions. Thank you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll let anybody else answer the first part of the question. Then I'll.
You go first.
Okay. Well, as it turns out, I also work with my best buddy here at a company called Renaissance PR, and so I also do indie game PR. And he has helped teach me that individualized outreach really does make a difference. And so I have noticed that when people reach out to me about games they know I would like genres like platformers, rhythm games, JRPGs, I'm more likely to pay attention because I'll get clearly, an email that's been sent to hundreds of people about a tower defense roguelite, and nothing against people who love those games. That's just not for me. And so I don't pay attention. But I would if it was a genre I really cared about, and like this is somebody who's reaching out to me because they know, yeah, man, I've made a game that's like, Mega Man crossed with Sonic, crossed with Kingdom Hearts, and you're going to love it. And I'll definitely pay attention because I know that it's tailored to something that they know I would like.
Thank you.
And question 2.
You've got 60 seconds left of this panel, so I don't know. You could
gonna answer like,
we could just do this with Steph on Skype, to be honest. Couldn't we?
Listen, if you live by the family sword, you got to play by it, and the emotions run deep. And if you're in a relationship and Dre does something wrong and it pisses me off, it's going to piss me off. I mean, that's the negative side of a family sort of vibe. And obviously, if there is a day when Dre fucks off to some other publisher, I'm going to get really pissed off. And that's the other side. So, yeah, it's the emotional side. That's a quick and easy time at the bar. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone else in the line can still get a Lumo code though. So yay!
Woo! If you do want to ask questions, we'll be hanging around.
We're around.
We'll move around. You can just ask us.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just move outside. And if you have
cool.
any,
So thanks, everyone. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all very much.
Good night, everybody.
Wired Unplugged.